Venice is not a city you simply visit. It is a city you enter, a place where roads disappear into water, where buildings rise straight from the lagoon, and where time behaves very differently to the rest of the world. By all logic, Venice should not exist. Yet here it is, balanced, floating, and quietly magnificent. This is not a race through landmarks. This is a slow walk through a city that rewards patience. Because Venice does not shout for attention, it waits for you to notice it. St. Mark's Square is where Venice introduces itself. Wide, theatrical, and unapologetically confident. Surrounded by history on every side, this square has seen emperors, artists, merchants, and invaders all pass through the same space you are standing in now. St. Mark's Basilica dominates the view. Gold mosaics shimmer in the light, blending Eastern and Western influences into something uniquely Venetian. Look closely and you begin to understand something important. Venice was never isolated. It was connected to the world long before most cities even looked beyond their borders. Just next door stands the Doge's palace. From the outside it looks elegant, even welcoming. But this building was the nerve center of Venetian power. Here, leaders ruled an empire built on trade, strategy, and control of the seas. Behind the beautiful facades were courtrooms, secret passages, and prison cells. Crossing the Bridge of Sighs, prisoners caught their final glimpse of freedom. A reminder that Venice, for all its beauty, was also sharp, clever, and occasionally ruthless. If Venice has a main road, it is the Grand Canal, a wide ribbon of water that curves through the city, lined with palaces that rise directly from the surface below. There are no pavements here, no traffic lights, just boats gliding past buildings that once belonged to merchants richer than most kings. As the light changes, reflections ripple across the water, turning stone into movement. This is Venice at its most cinematic, and it never gets old. The Rialto Bridge has connected the city for centuries. Below it, the Grand Canal flows endlessly. Above it, Venice carries on with daily life. Nearby, the Rialto market reveals the city at ground level. Fresh fish laid out on ice, seasonal vegetables stacked in neat rows. This is not Venice for postcards. This is Venice for locals, and it feels refreshingly real. Tucked away from the main routes lies the Jewish Ghetto. Established in the 16th century, it was the first ghetto in the world. Life here was restricted, controlled, and monitored. Yet culture, education, and resilience flourished anyway. The buildings rise taller than elsewhere in Venice, built upward where outward expansion was impossible. The streets are quieter, the atmosphere heavier. This part of the city does not perform, it remembers. Crossing the Accademia Bridge brings you closer to Venice's artistic soul. Inside the Accademia galleries are works by masters who defined how Venice wanted to be seen. Dramatic, radiant, powerful. Outside, the same light that inspired them still dances across the water. Here, art never stayed confined to frames. It spilled into the streets. Santa Maria della Salute rises at the edge of the Grand Canal like a crown. This church was built as a promise, a vow made during a devastating plague. If the city survived, this would stand as a symbol of gratitude. Venice survived, and the church still watches over the water today. Step inside, and the atmosphere shifts immediately. Calmer, slower, almost weightless. There are two ways to explore Venice properly. You can drift through narrow canals in a gondola, where reflections ripple gently and conversations fall quiet. Or you can walk, get lost, turn corners without a plan. Venice rewards curiosity. The quieter the street, the more the city reveals itself. One of Venice's most unexpected sights hides behind an unassuming doorway. The Acqua Alta bookshop. Books stacked in bathtubs, boats, and barrels, designed to survive flooding rather than resist it. It is practical, eccentric, and perfectly Venetian. Nearby, the royal gardens offer a pause from stone and water. A rare moment of green stillness in a city that never quite stands still. Across the lagoon sits San Giorgio Maggiore. Climb the bell tower, and Venice finally reveals its full shape. Red rooftops stretching endlessly, canals threading through the city like veins, the lagoon fading into the horizon. From here, Venice looks fragile, and somehow incredibly strong. Beyond the main city, the islands tell their own stories. Murano is shaped by fire and skill. Glassmakers transform molten heat into delicate forms, using techniques guarded for centuries. Burano is shaped by color. Bright houses line the canals, painted so fishermen could find their way home through fog. Each island adds another layer to Venice's identity. Venice does not rush you. It does not ask to be conquered in a day. It lingers. Long after you leave, you remember the sound of water against stone, the way light moves differently here, and the sense that time slowed down just slightly. Venice is not about seeing everything. It is about feeling something. And once it does, it never quite lets you go.